Hey, what's up, guys and gals? My name is Rick Nineg. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about the television show Bewitched. If you're a fan of Bewitched and other television shows, that is classic TV shows and movies, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's free to do so, and it truly does help out my channel. It helps out the algorithm so that more people do look at the videos that I do and look at this classic TV treasures that I love looking at. So if we look at the second episode of Bewitched, it's called Be It Ever So Mortgaged. It came out September of 1964. Now you may remember this one. That is where Darren and Samantha, who are now married, they find their dream house and immediately arouse the suspicions of a snooping neighbor. Her name is Gladys Kravitz. And it's an amazing, hilarious episode where Gladys is prominently portrayed, and she is silly with the misunderstandings that she sees. Looking at this new dream house, seeing all these magical things happen, she is wondering what in the world is going on in there. And her husband thinks she's going completely nuts. Now we see Samantha and her mom and Dora, who are in front of this dream house, and there's a little bit of television magic going on here. Now it's a bit of a secret, but if you don't know, Samantha and Dora, they're looking at the new house and they're looking past the eyes of the camera, or basically the camera's eyes. They're looking at kind of us, but on the side. They're not actually looking at the dream house. It's a trick. It's a Hollywood trick. They are giving the impression that the Kravitz house, which is basically their new neighbors, is behind them in the background. But that's not correct. They're looking at not the house, but a park. Now this was at the once constructed Columbia Ranch that has now had been demolished essentially at the time of this video, and they're building other things there. Basically some huge warehouses and AI things like that. But getting back to this, the house in the background that you essentially see is known as the Lindsay house, and it's used in a television show called Hazel. Now the house to the left is called the Higgins house, and you can see it as you look from the street. Now what they do with the clever editing, it tricks you into thinking, that is the viewer, that there is a house across the street that they are looking at, but because the way this street was designed in this backlot essentially at Warner Brothers or at Columbia at the time, it's completely different. There's this large park, and it's the only way that this scene will work, so that you could see the neighbor's house in the background and the dream home is essentially on another side of the street. Now later on, when you see the actress Gladys Kravitz, well, that is the character, she's coming out of her front door, but we don't see the actual house she's coming out of, because she's coming out of the Partridge house, which was located on the other side of the corner church. Now she comes out and heads to her right, which is how she would need to go to get to the Higgins house. Essentially, if this is a little confusing to you, it's very simple. Whenever you see Dora and Samantha looking at the side of the camera, you think they're looking at essentially the Bewitched house. They're not. They're looking at a park. Why? Because behind in the background, there's the neighbor's house. And when the neighbor is coming out of her supposed house and she's walking to essentially Samantha's house, she is in a different location. That's just because the way the homes were built, they were just built in a special way, and then for this television show, they had to use clever editing to make the homes work, to make the story work, and that is the magic of Hollywood and the magic of editing. Now, you may not know that this is the only episode in the entire television show Bewitched, out of all 254 episodes, where the audience gets a direct view from the front of the house through the doorway, and you get to see essentially the stairs and a little bit of the backyard. If you are used to the show, then the camera shots you can see are outside, walking in or out in the driveway while essentially the car is driving, or exiting, entering a car and looking up at the roof and so forth. So again, not ever once did Bewitched show a foyer view through the front door, at the front lawn, and the street. Why is this? Well, because this backlot street shape, essentially it was Blondie Street, the shape was kind of like an arc or a U, and it had one sharp angle in the front of the facade of the Bewitched house in the direct view out of the front door. This is a look at essentially what this whole Blondie Street looked like, and I'll show you the Bewitched house as well as, the Partridge house, so you can see that park area. It's really interesting how this kind of stuff was filmed, and it's really cool to look at this second episode where you see the beginnings of them moving into this house and how to play a trick on you, essentially, for you to believe how the neighborhood was created, essentially in this imaginary way, because in real life everything was laid out differently, but they made you want to think that the layout was different than how it was actually created. It's really cool, it's really interesting, and I hope you enjoyed this video, just showing how simple editing can create a new world. They don't even need to build things in certain ways. They can leave things as built, and then they can use editing to make things look like they're in different spots. And due to the actors, like people like Agnes Moorehead and of course Elizabeth Montgomery, who are just good actors, and they fool you into believing what is real is not real. And so that is amazing. Thank you so much for your support as always. We'll see you all next time, and don't forget, everyone, to always stay positive and, most importantly, be hopeful. Thank you to all my supporters, especially my Diamond tier patrons: Russ C, Sally N, Vito L, Citizen Kane 359, David D, Jerry D, Jennifer P, and Kevin K. If you want to join this list and be a patron supporter, it does help out so much, and I thank you ahead of time.